And this meeting is being recorded, so you have to say yes if you would like that or not. So, yep. So I'm CJ, and I do marketing at DataStack Academy / just, I guess, a concierge of sorts. So we will be taking questions throughout the webinar through the chat box, and I'll make sure that Parham or Rachel gets to your questions. And I will introduce the people that are going to be talking to you today. First, we have Rachel with Epicodus, and I'm going to have each one of them talk a little bit about their background, but we're going to be with Parham with DataStack Academy, and then Rachel with Epicodus. And Rachel's actually the director of operations, so you hold down the fort at Epicodus, don't you?
I do.
Very much.
So yeah, Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
I'm, as CJ said, I'm our director of operations. I actually started out heading up our partnerships with employers. And so that's actually how Parham and I met. So I've been with Epicodus for about the last, just about 8 years now, I think. And it's definitely like the kind of organization that I have a lot of love for. When I came out here, I wanted to find something that felt like it mattered. And so I'm super excited to get to endeavor on this partnership, because I think it really expands the opportunities we can offer students.
Awesome. Is there just a little brief blurb about Epicodus that you can let us know what exactly Epicodus is for those that don't know, which I think most of us do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Goodness, sorry. Epicodus is basically we're a coding boot camp that was open to give non-technical people access to the tech industry. Is really focused around helping folks who, by birth or circumstance, don't have access to the education that they need to make the career changes that they want to. And so we've been doing that since, I think, just maybe a year before I came on board. So.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you for being on with us this week. So Parham is with DataStack Academy, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then after that, how we actually partner with Epicodus?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Parham. I've been in this industry, been in data industry pretty much for like 20 years or so. Started as a computer engineer. I did a little bit of hardware engineering, but quickly switched into more like backend and software. And I started working for data companies, a bunch of very big name, I would say, Silicon Valley companies over the years. I became a product manager at some point for some of the big data products that are out there. And then 2016, branched off and founded Tora, which is a data engineering consulting company. And we just launched about a year ago DataStack Academy, which is mostly the data engineering training part of Tora. So yeah, been in the industry for a while. So Rachel and I have worked together for I think 5-6 years now. Again, on the Tora side, yeah. So we started working with Epicodus and getting a lot of the entrants and a lot of graduates to come work for us, and that's been great. I just have nothing but nice things to say about Rachel, Epicodus. It's been wonderful working together. And since we started the data engineering bootcamp, we couldn't think of anybody better to partner with than Epicodus. So we partner with Epicodus here in Pacific Northwest to bring this course to life. Yeah.
Perfect. And we're going to learn a little bit of why data engineering in a little bit, but I first wanted to remind people that are just coming on, because we have a bunch of people that just jumped on. You can ask questions in the chat box, or we will be asking you if you have any questions, and feel free to go off mute and ask us your questions. And again, this is definitely for you can ask us anything about data engineering, or even if you want to ask Parham about his posters in the back too. We've had people ask about that too. But if you do have any questions after this, then feel free to reach out to the emails that we have in the chat box. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to let Rachel and Parham take it. So tell us why data engineering is the fastest growing in the industry.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, CJ. Yeah, well, let me kind of step back and say what is data engineering. I think a lot of people, uh, we hear data, and we hear a lot of people with sort of like data in their title are making our friends like making six-figure salaries easily, but it's hard to know what exactly that is and what do they do. So taking a step back and looking at just technology as a whole and the different fields of technology and what they do, at the very front of it, or front facing of it, you have the front end developers. So these are the people who design, like, let's say, the web pages that we interact with, the apps that we interact with. They design the interfaces that the users interact with. And typically in a front end or app developer, these things, the skills would be like they learn HTML, CSS, they learn JavaScript, React. Those are the prominent tools. But there's also the application developers, and those are the people who, let's say, build things like Excel, Photoshop, the applications that we use. And those people traditionally have been mostly using like things like C or Java or C Sharp. But actually recently, most of those applications are again built in JavaScript and built things with like Electron and so forth. So those are like the front facing people in tech. And then there's the back end people. There's the people who do all the processes on the back end side. So for example, when you go on like kayak.com, when you book the flight, like you use kayak.com, that was made by the front end developer, but the back end, when it actually like books your flight, when it sends that flight to the airline, gets the confirmation, sends you the confirmation, those processes are done by the back end or the full stack engineers. Then there's also the Devops engineers. That's another term that we hear. And those people mostly build the infrastructure for the front end and the back end people to work. So those people manage the servers, manage the cloud components, make sure all of those infrastructures in place for the front end and back end people to do their job. And then there's the analytical people. Like, so that's a whole and another end. So we call the top hat the operational folks and the bottom half the analytical folks. So these are the people who work with data, right? And the data, like, there's a lot of different ways that happens. There's, of course, a user-facing analytical side. Let's say like Spotify, you like a couple songs, you like a couple playlists, and you get like your the weekly suggestion, that playlist, or you get other songs that are related to that songs or other songs that go with that songs recommended to you. That is like an analytical piece. So that is that the software saw your behavior, saw your likings, and then recommended something to you. But there's also like the internal analytical side of software too. So a lot of times that analytics is just like how the app is working. So like the front end developers need to know what are the features that most people use, and then they can really focus on that. So that is also done by the analytical people to tell the front end, oh, like this button, like everybody likes this button, clicks over here. Those are some of the things that, again, that the back end analytical people figure out. So in that sense, there's the data engineers. So data engineers really are the glue between everything. They're the ones who grab the data from the front end, from the back end folks, give it to the analytical folks, have them do something with it, and then give it back to like the users or front end guys. So they're really moving the data. They're in charge of the data. And there's the data scientists. Those are the people who actually design the models, who recommend a song to you, who let's say, see your behaviors and then do the recommendations or the predictions. And then there's the data analyst. The data analyst job is mostly really towards the executive. So they build the reports, they go through like all the sales of the company and make, build it monthly reports, daily reports, all that sort of thing. So if I give you this, like, let's say as an example to really understand this better, let's take like Lyft or Uber, a rideshare program, and let's see how that process works. And let's do this through like a use case example where, let's say you were trying to go book a ride and the application tells you, hey, you should just wait 15 minutes, like the rides are going to be cheaper. There's a lot of things that are happening there. So of course, the full stack or the app developers, the front end developers have designed the interface for you that you're clicking on the app. Then there's the full stack developers that are building the server pieces that is actually seeing that you need a ride, sees all the rides around you, and does that server communication with the app. And there's the data engineers that are getting that information, knowing where all the drivers are, where all the ride requests are, and pass that to the data scientists. And it's the data scientist model that then says, hey, based on the demand and all the drivers, like maybe you should wait 15 minutes. That's the pattern that we see. And that then goes back to the data engineer. Data engineer sends that back sort of to the full stack and the app developer. So that's kind of the flow. I mean, there's of course another example that, let's say, like you get an alert that says, hey, your driver is off course. There's a lot more data that's involved with that. So that's like when your real-time GPS data is being processed and you can see that you are navigating away from the course that you should be. Again, that a lot of that is done by the data engineer, the real-time processing of that GPS data, making sure that it's off the path. So hopefully this gives you guys a good picture of what data engineers do as a whole. Now, let's look at data engineer market. So data engineering is the fastest growing field in tech right now. It's the highest in demand as well. And there are a bunch of reports that support this. So the top number there, the 50%, is from DICE. DICE is one of the most accredited agency. In 2021 and 2022, DICE ranked data engineering as the fastest growing field in tech, which grew 50% in that year. Right now, if you go on Indeed, there's 40,000 jobs on Indeed available, and data engineering seems to have the highest average salary, again, within these fields of tech that we talked about. Keep in mind that average salary, 119K a year, is usually with people with 3 to 5 years experience. Again, it's average salary, not starting salary. And then last but not least, I think that last report, the 81% is from Bussert, again, another big accredited agency. And that number was during the pandemic year. So during the pandemic, out of the 320 companies that they interviewed, 81% of those companies hired more data engineers, and they were hiring plan to hire more data engineers in the year coming. The problem is, you see it right there on Indeed, that there's just not enough data engineers right now, because data is everywhere. Everybody needs data, right? But there's not enough people. And you see that on Indeed. You see the ratio of the job posting to the job applicants. Indeed also shows you that. I think there's only 6,000 people applying for that job last time I checked. So there's a big gap. And that is really seen by a lot of companies that I work for or work with, even on the consulting side of our business. So that's definitely there. Let me tell you some dark sides of the engineering. It's not all fun, of course. So there's downsides of data engineering, of course. Data engineers they're always in the background. There's really not, there's no glory. You're not designing the app, you're not designing games that you can show your friends and see, like, hey, like, look at this, what I did. And most often, actually, if everything you've done works well, like, nobody knows. But as soon as like a process fails, that's when everybody's going to know your name. So as soon as like somebody's not getting their notifications, or somebody's, like Spotify recommendation listed an update for that week, like, then you're going to have everybody knocking on you, like, what happened? Like, because somewhere that data flow broke, right? And that's your job. You are the person who like connects everything and flows the data. So for that, we like to kind of call ourselves as this silent hero. I know I have a bunch of hero posters in the background, so it's not that silent, irrelevant, but that's what we like to call ourselves. And data engineers, they tend to know a little bit about everything. it's kind of your jack of all trades and master of none, because you're the glue. You're the one who has to talk to like the front end engineers, to the back end engineers, to the data scientists, the data analysts. So you have to know a little bit about everything within the company or how the company operates, because how the company operates is really reflected in the company data. Um, and uh, and data engineers, and I gotta say this, they seem to be very detail oriented. That's a good character. So if you're a person who, I don't know, like really like you're very detailed, you're very organized, you're very planned, like you clean your space all the time. I gotta say that we're a little bit OCD, most of the data engineers that I've seen. Um, but it's about detail because again, everything has to work well. You have to have counted for every thing that can go wrong, and with the data flows, and really build that process. So we really get our joy mostly out of building processes. Um, One of the other things I say, like if you played with a lot of Legos back when you were a kid, that you probably make a really good data engineer, because that's all it is. You just fitting pieces together and building things. One of the things that you get out there and you hear like on different Reddit or a different sort of social media channels, that a lot of people say data engineering is too complex. And I honestly like to debunk that right off the bat. Like they say, like a lot of these tools are very complex to learn. Like these tools, like most of the data engineering tools are like big data tools. They're or cloud tools, they're distributed tools, or you have to learn about distributed processing. That's completely untrue. I mean, I was one of the people who developed those tools back when I was a product manager. And we've had thousands of developers taking away that complexity. So we work night and day. So the interfaces are actually very simple to grasp, very simple to understand. Most of these tools have very, very good documentation. Like for example, Spark, which is the biggest one of the biggest data engineering tools, which is distributed program. I dare anybody that they can learn Spark within 2 weeks, and it's super easy. So do not get hung up by that at all, I would say. Really quickly, if you want to be a data engineer, I have some hacks for you, or some recommendations. First and foremost, everything's moving to the cloud these days. Start with cloud certifications. So a lot of these cloud vendors, or all of them, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon or AWS, they have a data engineering certification now. On their webpage, they actually lay out a learning plan for that certification. There's a lot of good resources there. That's a great place to start. Second, everything's on GitHub now. I think Rachel can attest to this too. I know the Epicodus program is all built on like day one. You get on GitHub, because GitHub is like the social media platform for coders. Like it's your Facebook profile for coding, right? And it's being used by a lot of employers now to vet, to really see what you're about, what you can do. So that's a great place for you to showcase your capabilities. So everything you do while you're learning data engineering, do it on GitHub. Again, I know Epicodus in our program, DataStack, which we do with Epicodus, like day one, you start on GitHub and you start committing your projects there. It's a little hard to get real world data and real world problem sets, because data is sort of, people keep that close to their chest, a lot of their companies, but there's a lot of good open source data sets, and Kaggle or Data Hub.io are a great place for that. So if you want to get your hand on real world projects or data sets, that's a great place to go. I would highly recommend you learn with others. And again, this is something in DataStack and Epicodus we do. Epicodus is per programming. You're always learning with somebody else. And there are great tools to do that even on your own. So there's, of course, Twitch, which is a great place. I mean, a lot of gamers used to use, but now a lot of coders also use it, where you can say, hey, like on Wednesday night, I'm going to learn Python. And if you want to learn it with me, just jump on, we can chat, I will screencast, and you can tell me, we can kind of drive together. There's other tools, because Repellent is a great tool that browser-based, you can code with someone else, Jupyter Notebooks, etc. Of course, there's the boot camps when we're going to talk to you about. And I really like the bootcamp realm because of a few things that we say here. I think it's really for the students, because once you go into the bootcamp, you really declare intention that this is your path. You're going to be a data engineer, or you're going to be a full stack developer. And once you declare that intention and you go there and you do it every day, that's when things happen, right? We've all been there where we go online and try to learn, and like a year later, we're in the same spot. I mean, there's so many things that I've tried to learn, and they're still in my backlog of lists, right? Of course, you get the mentorship, you get with instructor every day, you get the you with other people at your same level that are learning at the same time. But the most important thing is the career services, which Rachel is going to talk to you guys about in a little bit. That's something that you can't get anywhere else. I would say after you kind of go through any process, great place to start your first data engineering job are consulting companies. And I know that because I have a consulting company. I don't mean to like advertise for that, because consulting companies are always hiring, especially mid-sized consulting companies are always hiring. And the best thing that happens there, which really happened to my own career, is that you get to do a lot of different projects. You get to work on a different projects almost, every couple months. You get on different companies, different projects, you get a lot of experience, and you very quickly become sort of that next tier, advanced data architect. And then your salary just jumps a lot. So let me stop there. I talked a lot and hand it off to Rachel. Rachel, take it away, please.
Thank you very much. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're super excited to get to partner with DataStack Academy on this. Epicodus' mission is to help people learn the skills that they need to get great jobs. And for us, great jobs means jobs in growing industries that pay well and provide rewarding work. It's why we've been doing web development so long, and it's also why data engineering is a really natural fit to kind of expand those opportunities that we can provide for our students.
And I can attest to that, Rachel, too. I mean, over the 5-6 years that we've worked together, I think we've hired 4 of Epicodus graduates, and 3 of them are still with me. So that's, that's great.
I love that so much.
Yeah. So let's talk about so we told you that we're launching the data engineering track with Epicodus, and let's talk a little bit about the logistics of this track. So this is a 20-week long course of coursework. On top of that, there'd be 5 weeks of internship when you are placed actually with the company, and you will have to do that internship and you get experience. And if I'm not mistaken, there's also 2 weeks of the career services that happens there as well, Rachel.
Yep, that's correct.
Perfect. Yeah, and then there's during the course, you build actually 17 different full-fledged data projects that you'll be able to showcase on your GitHub. Of course, there's a lot more exercises. Your GitHub would be filled with a lot more projects, but those are full-fledged projects that you'll be able to showcase to employers afterwards. The cadence is Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursday are going to be mostly lectures and exercises. The morning you'll spend with the instructor. The instructor is going to do the exercise of the day themselves. They're going to go and do a lecture that lasts about 1 to 2 hours. Then you do that exercise paired with another student yourself in the morning. So you just repeat that same exercise in the morning with another student. And then in the afternoon, you do exercises. So those are, again, when you pair with someone else, and you're going to do exercises very similar to the morning lecture that you have, but now you have to really do it on your own, and you have to really apply that knowledge that you just learned. So it's a great way to learn. Of course, we will have mentors. Is there a question? Maybe not. Okay. I think somebody is not on mute. Of course, there's the mentorship that goes with that. So in this one, I will be the mentor for our data engineering course, and you can book hours. I'll have office hours every week that you can book hours to speak with me, and I'll do anything I can do to help There's the career services, as we talked about, which Rachel will go in a little bit more detail, and the internship. The tuition, if you want to finance the course, there's a lot of financing options. Again, where Rachel will go through them. It will be 11,700, and if you can pay it up front, there's a huge discount for that, which is $8,700. Rachel, do you want to talk a little bit more about the internship?
Actually, yes. And just to let you know, right before we jump into that, we did have a question as far as if the internships are paid or not.
Oh, sure. I answered that in chat, but I can also totally answer it over this. So the internship is basically like the last class that you participate in before you graduate. So it's very much like up to companies whether it's paid or not. Oftentimes it is, but it's not something that I can like guarantee from one to the next. So yeah, I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about the career services side of things. So, we know that folks who enroll in this are looking to get into the tech industry, and that the technical education side is only half the battle. Just like we don't expect folks to come in with a great deal of technical experience, we don't expect people to be experts on going to find a job. And that's a really different skill set from what makes someone good at development or data engineering. So alongside the technical curriculum, our students will have an assigned advisor who guides them through our career services curriculum. We start in week 3, where you put together a LinkedIn profile, and then your advisor will work with you throughout the class to work on like a resume and a cover letter, and you'll do mock interviews and things like that. That advisor also will coordinate the internship. It's a kind of a matchmaking process. You'll get a chance to interview with a number of companies, and then based on your feedback and their feedback will be assigned with the company at the end. Our career services team also spends a lot of their time building relationships with companies to help create opportunities for our graduates. So grads can expect periodically to get emails with like a direct line to apply for a position, things like that. Basically, like, and we do a year of career services after, or career support after students graduate. In that you can kind of expect, it's fairly comprehensive. We'll do follow-up resume and cover letter reviews. We help people like set goals and stay on track, because job searching can be an adventure all on its own. And so they're there to help like be an accountability buddy and a cheerleader and whatnot. But basically, like from our perspective, we're only as successful as our students are. So our team is very much invested in the success of our graduates. And I don't know, Parham, if you had anything that you wanted to add on that.
I think that said it perfectly. Thank you.
Perfect. So yeah, so as far as next steps go, I'm going to drop actually a handful of links in the chat. You can, of course, visit DataStack Academy. If you want a little bit more information about classes, outcomes, the internship program, things like that, you can find all of that at the Epicodus website. And I especially recommend, if you're wanting to get more information about what that day-to-day experience is, to check out our What to Expect page. We also run periodic workshops where you can get some kind of hands-on experience with that. The one that we are doing this Saturday, we are co-hosting with DataStack Academy. Yeah, and so, but yeah, if you have questions, you can call us, email us, chat with us. There's contact information on both DataStack Academy's website and at ours. But at the end of this, you should have a very attractive data engineering portfolio on GitHub. And yeah, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Rachel. And I was going to say, also on our side, I mean, definitely you can get to know more about our curriculum. But there's a couple links there too. So there's a link to schedule a call that actually goes directly to my calendar. So if you have any questions, I'd love to talk to you about it. a huge data engineering advocate, of course. So and I'm sure you will have a lot of questions, and but feel free, please put a time on my calendar. We'll speak. I'll do anything I can to answer all your questions. There's also another link if you want to kind of see how the course is, see how the materials is. There's a link to get started. That actually gets you to download the first 2 chapters of the data engineering track, the first 2 out of 10, and you can go through that yourself. Those are for Python and SQL, so you get to learn Python and SQL through those chapters. And I'll highly recommend to sign up for the workshop on Saturday that we're doing together. That would be a great way to just kind of see how it is. In the day, we're gonna give you a crash course in Python. You're actually gonna build a Jupyter Notebooks workflow that loads an Excel file, does a lot of transformation, and then saves it back to the cloud. So it's a great way to know what a day-to-day sort of data engineering activity would be like. I want to close this out by saying that, of course, we know this is a really big decision to go for, to be a data engineer and to switch careers. A lot of you guys who are doing a career switch, we've been there. We've been there ourselves. Again, as I mentioned, 4 of the folks that I've worked with over the years have come from Epicodus, have gone through that transformation, that journey, and I know there's a lot of fear that goes in there, but I like to assure you that once you get into the process, once you start the process, and once you get in the classroom with everybody else, that fear just goes away immediately. And we're gonna be here to guide you. We are gonna be there every step of the way. Me, Rachel, everybody else at Epicodus, everybody at DataStack, and we'll do anything we can for you to get the job. And I know that, I'm not gonna lie, that our course or our track is gonna be very comprehensive. It's gonna be hard. There's a lot of material that you're going to learn, but the job market that it is now, there's a big gap for data engineering. I will guarantee you, if you finish it and if you dedicate yourself, you will definitely have a job in this market. You'd be very likely to get a job, very easily. Awesome. That's it. Are there any
I
questions?
just have one thing to note really quick before we get into questions. There's a lot of information in this chat, so don't feel overwhelmed by it. We will be sending out an email to the emails that you signed on on the Eventbrite. So if you did not sign on the Eventbrite and you're here, can you make sure I get your email? Other than that, we will be sending you all these links that we have in here will be sent via email too. So again, don't get like overwhelmed by everything. And there is a link right now to the first 2 chapters of the data engineering course on GitHub too. So if you want to just try your hand at it, look at it. I don't know if Parham had said that or not, but anyway, back to you.
I'm just seeing if there's any questions on the chat. Please don't be shy. It's a great time to.
Time commitment per week.
Would you like to take that, Rachel, or?
Oh, sure. So classes run 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Generally speaking, like that's the vast majority of that time commitment. I'm not actually sure if you have a homework component to ours. I know on the web development side, there is a little bit of homework, maybe 20 or 30 minutes a night, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so our homework's mostly, yes, some of the lessons would have, our homeworks are mostly like before the start of the week, so over the weekend. And again, yeah, it's just a little bit of light reading, so about half an hour maybe of reading, and that's where we give you some articles to read so you familiarize yourself with the week's content before you go in, so you're not going in blind. I would say again, our mornings are gonna run anywhere 2 to 3 hours before lunch break. That's the instruction, plus when you do that exercise yourself. And the afternoons are very much I would say to yourself, because those are the exercises. So the faster you can go through themselves, like the faster you would go. But typically I would say the afternoon exercises would take at least like, again, like 3 to 5 hours. And that's Monday through Thursday are for us are the lectures plus exercises. Fridays are your project, and those are the ones that you actually turn in and you be graded on. It's not really like, it's not like a pass, or it's not really like we're gonna grade you like A, B, C, like the traditional school. It's just we have a set of criterias that in the project that you have to show that you can apply the knowledge and you have built those and you've demonstrated those skills. And we take your project, we right away we give you the answers, we see if you've hit like all the criteria. If you haven't, you have till the end of the course, so you have pretty much indefinitely to turn that, you know, try again and turn that in again. I believe that's also the same way for the full stack course as well, right?
It's a little bit more, it's a little bit different for the full stack. You get like 17 days total.
I think actually for us, yeah, I think for us might be different. Yeah, or for us it might be the same too. Sorry, but I mean, the one thing that we've made sure that the projects don't like build on top of each other. So this week, like next week, doesn't build on last week, so you won't fall behind. Like even if you didn't finish like this week's project, next week, like you're doing another one, and then you know you can finish that, then come back and finish the other one. It's remote. Yeah, that's a good question, Naomi. So this the program's available remote. Yep. Most with COVID, everything is remote these days. So this program will be available remote. So you can join. It would be conducted in Pacific hours. So as far as the working hours, it must be based on Pacific time, but you can pretty much log in from anywhere. Rachel, I think the course, like if you sign up in Epicodus, is available both on the remote option and the Portland option on the sign up page, right?
Yeah, we've got it on there right now. Like practically speaking, they're both kind of the same thing. Hopefully that changes sometime in the near future, but yeah, you can sign up under either campus.
Yeah, hopefully we can go back to normal days of being in person sometime soon. We all miss it. Of course. Any other questions? Trying to read. Let's see, CJ. And like CJ mentioned, if you scroll up to the top of the chat box, our emails are listed there. Again, feel free to email me at any time if something comes up for you. CJ's email is also there. I believe Rachel is there as well. And again, if you have questions, I would say the best way, if you go on our website, datastack.academy, there's a schedule a call link down there that goes directly to my calendar. I would love to hear from you guys and talk to you and answer any questions you have.
I just dropped a link also to the right email to reach out directly to our advisor team.
Yeah, that would be great. Cool. Well, with that, I think I don't see any more questions. I can probably stop recording.